Well, as we went around the state and talked to everyday Georgians who we actually work for, the same recurring theme came back time and time again, and that was go to Atlanta, do your business, but keep government off of our backs. And really the best way to keep government off people's backs is to look at what the Constitution says and make sure that what you're doing is in compliance with that Constitution. The next step, of course, is not taking too much of the people's money or spending too much of it. So some of the things that we're looking at as far as limited government, the Sunset Bill. Are there agencies or departments out there that are doing things year after year, and really they may not even be necessary any longer? So the Sunset Bill would require all these agencies to come before us and explain to us and validate their existence every so often. And if they're not really doing anything that's helping people or doing anything within their constitutional bounds, we'll just simply get rid of them or let them sunset. Another bill that we've talked about for many years, I think we can finally pass this year, is zero-based budgeting, and it really follows kind of the same theory, and that is all of these government agencies that are spending taxpayer dollars, once every few years, they need to justify every single dollar that they're spending from zero all the way up. They need to build their budget from the first dollar to the last dollar, as opposed to what they do now and have always done, which is simply to tell us what the changes are from their last year's spending, to assume that what they spent last year was okay and they need more money for X, Y, or Z. That's not good enough anymore. We need to know that everything they're doing is justifiable. And then the third thing I think we need to do to really limit government is to ask the people of Georgia through a constitutional amendment whether they want to create some sort of limit as to how much government can spend. Is there an amount of money that is too much? I tend to believe there is, and I think most Georgians believe there is. So the Taxpayer Protection Act that has passed the Senate and is now in the House would say that to any amount of money collected above last year's spending adjusted for inflation plus population would have to go into the reserve fund and not be spent on some sort of new government program. Because as we know, one of the most difficult things in government is to get rid of a program. So why start something that's not absolutely necessary? So these are the things, sunsetting agencies, making these budgets work properly, justifying every dollar, and limiting spending over the long term. I mean, these are the things that we can go back to the people of Georgia who we work for and say, we've done your work and we've made sure your government is limited. One of the problems of our current tax system, and it's really a holdover from generations past, is that we tax inputs, we tax labor, we tax production, we tax those things that we really want more of. We want people to work more, we want people to produce more. So we need to move away from taxing those inputs and tax outputs instead. So get away from the income tax and move towards the consumption tax, because we want people to earn more money, we want more jobs created, and we don't like hidden taxes. So anytime you tax an input, and I'll use the example that's being discussed now, the tax on energy used in manufacturing, those taxes are being paid. They're being paid by consumers, but the problem is they're hidden into the price, which is terrible tax policy, because what Georgians expect, and everybody should expect, is to know what taxes they're paying and how much those taxes are. And anytime you have a hidden tax, it really is unfair to the ultimate consumer, and it's unfair to the taxpayer. So we say, look, let taxes be fair, let them be flat, let them be transparent, and let's not tax inputs or income or production. If you look around society in general, particularly in the private sector, you will see where in the areas of education, and I would take continuing education in whatever vocation you may be involved with, what happens at your workplace in the private sector. So many people are using technology to deliver that education product, and of course they're individualizing it. We're not teaching engineers how to bake cookies. We're not teaching people who are working in some profession something that's not related to their profession. And that's what we need to do in education. We need to individualize it to the interest of the student. But we also need to be able to use all the tools at our disposal. And unfortunately, right now in Georgia, we really have a system that is built on the factory model of the 1920s. Children go to school 5 days a week. They go to school for a number of hours a day. They go to school for 180 days per year during 9 to 9.5 months. And once they've completed those time constraints, they move on to the next grade. What we really need is to make sure that children are mastering specific subjects, mastering those things, those building blocks they need to move on to be further educated. I want to make sure that children are learning by the 3rd grade, or a student who is 9 years old has reached a certain level of reading proficiency before they move on, because we know that if a student by 9 years old doesn't read well, the chances of them excelling in education beyond that are minimal. So we need to be judging education on achievement, not how long you're in a seat. And by using technology, by giving parents more choice, by revolutionizing the education industry, by allowing multiple players, people who want to provide educational services, by allowing that to happen, we will dramatically change Georgia for generations to come. I mean, we talk a lot about economic development, we talk a lot about job creation, but the reality is the greatest long-term economic development tool we have is an educated workforce. So if we're producing a product, if children are being educated, jobs will happen here in Georgia, employers will move to our state, and we will grow rapidly. You know, there's a lot of things that government does that they ought not do. There's a lot of programs that we have created dealing with adults that probably we don't necessarily need. But the one area where government tends to fall short sometimes is the protection of children. Now, we should never come between that relationship of the parent and the child unless the child is in significant danger. But that rarely happens in our society. I think parents are intrinsically have in them the greatest desire for the best well-being for their child. Not always the case, but most of the time. But what we do need to do is to send a very loud and clear message that those people who would prey on children, those people who seek to hurt children, that this is the last state you want to be in. That as Georgians, we value the protection of our children, and that if you are doing things that significantly injure a child, that we will find you eventually and we will prosecute you. One of the things we can do is make sure that if a child is abused, particularly as it pertains to sexual abuse at an early age, that there's some time after they become an adult that they can go and have the person prosecuted for doing that. What happens now in many cases is that statute of limitations runs out before the child even reaches adulthood, before they even get to the point where they feel safe making those accusations. That's unfair to the child, and unfortunately it allows predators to exist without any fear of retribution. So one of the bills that has been proposed that our caucus strongly supports is to say, look, there's got to be a number of years after someone becomes an adult that they can still come forth and say they were physically and sexually abused as a child, and we can still go after those perpetrators. I think that's a really strong message. And if our state can lead the nation in protecting children, we've done a good thing. Well, it's been said many times before, our founders were brilliant in the way that they constructed our Constitution and the safeguards they put in place to make sure that the branches of government were balanced, but that the power, as it clearly states in the 10th Amendment, rests with the people in the states. One of the things they did was Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution that allows us, the states, to begin the process of amending the Constitution. Of course, there's the process you can go through in Congress to amend the Constitution. But if 2/3 of the state ask for an amendment to the Constitution, there would be a convention for that particular amendment to be held, and then whatever comes out of that by 2/3 vote could be ratified by 3/4 of the states to amend our U.S. Constitution. I don't think there's any bigger issue at the federal level than the issue of fiscal constraint. The United States, in just recent months, has lost our AAA bond rating. That really puts us in a position where we're no much better than most of the rest of the world. And as Americans, we should be embarrassed by that. We should be upset by that. But we should be very scared by that, because if you look at what has happened to other countries who've lost that rating, it doesn't come back in a year or 2 years. I think the average is 13 years before you can regain that AAA bond rating. That means hundreds of millions of dollars, wasted dollars that taxpayers will have to pay in interest only because our fiscal house isn't in order. And if that weren't enough, it's really all of this stems from the fact that we have a $1.5, $1.6 trillion annual deficit happening right now, which has accumulated to $15 trillion in total debt. So for every taxpayer in America right now, they owe more than $100,000 just on the debt. I don't think it's an overstatement to say that Congress has completely lost control, and that the people clearly understand this. You cannot spend $1.6 trillion more than you bring in every year and expect to remain an economic superpower. Something has to be done. The founders have this brilliant plan that said when the Congress won't do it, the states can step up, and that is what we're doing. 18 states have already done this. We would become the 19th state calling for an amendment to the United States Constitution for the balanced budget amendment. And once 34 states have done that, passed that resolution, that would be taken under consideration. There would be a convention for that specific purpose, and hopefully 3/4 of the states would ratify that, and we could finally get our fiscal house back in order. If Congress is not going to act, the states will have to. Our founders gave us a pathway to do that. It is a very legitimate pathway. They enshrined it in our Constitution, And the state of Georgia intends to begin going down that pathway to get to a balanced budget.